So I'm just looking at the Forex Factory calendar, and really, when's the Aussie going to cop a break? Doesn't seem to be travelling too well. We'll have a look at the entire week for the Aussie. It's been an absolute shocker, which started on Monday with building. I know they're low grade events, but it all adds up in the end. You know, every dollar adds up to 100 eventually. And started off with bad building numbers. Then company operating profits were down on Monday. On Tuesday, we had the Aussie RBA statement, and the current account wasn't too flash. That's for sure. RBA statement was pretty neutral, a little bit dovish, I suppose. In fact, I've heard talk today, would you believe, in Australia, that they're forecasting the next interest rate hike will not be. It will actually be a cut. There you go. That's commentary, of course, and commentary doesn't always turn into policy or reality, but that's what I'm hearing around the traps today. I had to hit the radio a couple of times, actually. I thought, hang on a minute, that doesn't sound too good or right even, but when you have a look at the numbers that have actually come out on the Aussie this week, in particular this one here, which was yesterday, the GDP figure, absolute shocker, 0.3%. Are we heading towards Australia's first recession in God knows how many years? I can't remember now. Well, that'll be the speculation, of course, and that's not going to help the Aussie dollar at all. And coupled with everything we've seen before. And again today, copped it again with, I guess the forecast was hit on the retail sales, but on the trade balance, 2.32 versus 3.1 forecast was a miss. I'd have to add to that, though, that at least it's a positive number, the trade balance, and not negative. So I guess on that front, it's not such a bad number. But really, there's been red paint all week on the Aussie, and no surprise that we've seen it tumble substantially. So today, OPEC meetings, of course, are in the news, and they'll be doing lots of little things around the place. We'll probably be looking at the CAD and the dollar and all sorts of things going on there. We'll see. Speaking of the CAD, we've got trade balance out on that one as well, and the Bank of Canada governor will have a little thing to say, or a couple of things to say as well. Tomorrow, of course, we're on NFP Eve. I've been vocal about NFP in the last few months, probably years now, suggesting that it actually isn't the number it used to be. It used to be the everyone stops and listens to the number and reacts off it. I think that's kind of subdued somewhat over the last few years. Anyway, people will still watch it without a doubt, and if you're trading around that time, then you'll probably want to be safe in the market. Employment numbers coming out on the CAD as well tomorrow. So that's the picture we've got. Today, what are we concentrating on? I suspect if you're not a CAD trader, then you're probably looking at the OPEC meetings and what might come out of them. I can hear a little Russell in the background, but his name's not Russell. His name's Ash. G'day, mate. How you doing?
Oh, all right, mate. Is everything all right?
Oh, look, everything's hunky-dory, mate.
Yes.
Yeah, very, very busy. I've got a massive bamboo run on tomorrow.
Oh.
And, yeah, I've got to pack for that in the very near future, in fact, before it gets dark. So I'm actually not going to be in too long today.
No problem, mate.
You around for the entire?
Yes, I will be here. So I am looking, as always, at the FTSE and various aspects of the FTSE 100, and looking actually to see. I've actually got a long in the market, which I'm going to leave. I can show you what I've got so far, if you like.
That'd be good. We might as well share a screen. I haven't been sharing, but I've been chatting about the calendar, so I guess it doesn't matter that much. Let's have a look at some charts, shall we?
Yeah. So you got my screen here?
Yep, mate.
Okay, let's get rid of some of these so they don't become confusing. So I have got I'll leave that one up if I can't get rid of it. Not going to really matter whether people see this one or not, I don't think, but I'd like to make it clean. There we go. Right then, so looking at the FTSE 100 now, as I say, I've entered a long on this one, but actually everybody could get a slightly better price on this, but might be better to wait. That would be my suggestion now. I entered this market yesterday as we approached down at these lows here. Now, the idea really for me, I actually didn't get that price. I got a slightly worse price than that. Well, I'm in around about here. Now, the idea for me is that I'd like to see whether we can challenge this area up here one more time. And the reason that I'm looking at that particular spot on a technical basis would be because of this level here. I don't think this is quite good enough. And what's interesting now is that if we are looking for confluence, we couldn't get really a better confluence area. Always I was looking for the 7,200, but now this line is approached and is pretty much upon us. I'd really be looking for a run up to this area where we kind of got to a couple of days ago, or a few days ago, I should say, and then probably fail. So I don't think anything higher than 71.50 would be anything that I'd want to be looking for, anything more long. But I would like to see if it's going to get up there. The only caveat is going to be, because I want to go short, but as I say, I've got a long in the market, and I'm just leaving that long running just right now, just to see if I can get back up here. My long, it was kind of entered around this area here, around about the 69.40 level, and it's possible that actually the market could fail at this point. So I've got two options at this particular stage. Well, I've got three actually. I could take the trade off the market, take it out of the market here. I'd like to see whether this gap actually does give us some sort of hammer here, which would look really good. It would be really positive if we got the gap and then we got a hammer. So I'd like to see what the price action is going to end up like today. If the price action doesn't get me anywhere near this level, then again, I probably will leave the trade on and just see if I can come down and come up, just so I can take a short. I am still looking for the short, and really, when I say I've got two options, the two options that I'm really looking at is to see if the market comes up to this particular level and then maybe take the current long off the table and then go short, or I see if the trade can actually just be left running and get us back to these highs again. This break of the trend line is problematic. There's no two ways about that. It's one of the reasons I got in where I did was because we had a low here. And we had the trend line here. So the trend line would have, and it was interesting because you were asking me only a couple of days ago what would happen if the market did come down here. Would I look for signs and signals of reversal? And I did. The daily bar doesn't really kind of give you a clear indication of why I went short or why I went long. The reason I started to go long was that I saw this area here. And we were at an equal low, and while that equal low was going on, the indicator down here was giving us this divergence. So we came down again. There was divergence. We got a third touch as well. So that's a reason to go long, not a particularly strong one, but that is a reason to go long. So so that's the reason that I entered. But as I say, the market is tanked, and it's much better now. For me to be more pragmatic about this and see whether price action can actually start to build up from here. We are oversold enough to suggest there will be a rally of some sort. The rally might just come and close the gap. It might end up taking and having a look at this trend line, which is pretty much where I've entered, or it might actually start to take off from this particular level. We might actually get some sort of decent reversal pattern here, maybe even a inverted head and shoulders, and then we start to pick up. The difficult thing is what's the catalyst. I'm not sure what the catalyst to the downside has been, and the only thing that I've got is the fact that Huawei CFO has been arrested by the US government over claims that she was doing some sort of deal with the Iranians, and it might seem like information that's pretty incongruous and not something that would affect the market. But she's a very, very important player in China, and it may well put on hold or might put the brakes on this this deal that Donald Trump has supposedly done with Xi Jinping over the tariffs being held and frozen just for a little while.
There's no more news on that one.
No, there's no more news on it except for the fact that it looks like it's going to go through, and it looks like the Chinese are a little bit. The Chinese are sorry. Some of the Americans have kind of come out and said it was a pretty poor deal. So you know, whether that actually does help things along or not, I don't know, because we thought it was going to help things along when it kind of gapped above at this point and started to go. But ever since then, you know, I went long here and I went long here, managed to take the profit, as you know, on the daily pivot, and since then the market has just absolutely plummeted. So there's not really a whole bunch that does look like it is going to abate and subside this selling that we've seen in the market. And if we can kind of compare what's been going on across the board, China also gapped down today, earlier on today, and has just managed to kind of like find some sort of bottom. If we look at the Nikkei, then we see that the Nikkei also had that, so that moved to the downside and has just started to subside as we close in on this UK market open. So there are a few things, a few aspects here which suggest that the market weakness might continue to play out, and that may be enough for me to you know, if I get close enough to entry, to take the trade off the table and look for different opportunities. Or it might be the case that that I don't worry about that too much and just look for the short and leave the market where it is here, because you know it would still be my opinion that we'd probably see this line tested at some point. So I'll be okay to leave this on, and as long as I can get a hedge on. And it will also be down to what this bar looks like. If this bar looks like it does currently with the gap and the potential hammer, maybe even pushing slightly to the upside by the end of the day, that's going to encourage me to at least stay on board for a day or so and see how this plays out. So you know, there's a few decisions to be made here. As I say, I know I want to go short, and I probably would go short in this area. And if I did manage to get a short on here, then at that particular point, it would be well worth taking off the long. If it goes a little, you know, if it goes more to this gap here and suggest that the short is on from the gap fill, then I'll probably leave the other trade on and just see if I can hedge it a little bit with the short, and then eventually, you know, see if it'll come back and take the trade off the table. Then I'd probably have
big time short. Are we thinking plummet?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's, you know, it's now at the point that the FTSE is, you know, this is the interesting level here. You know, it's so far it managed to hold on, but if it doesn't manage to hold on here and it does, you know, eventually close down here by the end of the week, that is starting to suggest that we could get a significant short. And the only really reversal pattern that I can see very, very quickly is this head and shoulders here, which would lead us down to around this point here. We'll have a look at what that is. Yeah, it looks like this high here. I'm just going to check that on the monthly. Yeah, it looks like this, and actually that's quite a significant line, isn't it? So the head and shoulders does suggest that we could come down at least 400 pips from where we are. So when we consider that the market is currently at 6,800, so call it 7,000, then that's going to be a 5% drop, which is, you know, always significant in the market. So we got that area. We've got the trend line here, which starts to close in around about the same area if the market does come down again. So we'll be looking around about 6,500 before we'd be potentially looking for another long in the market. So you know, I've got to be prepared that if I don't take the trade off the table, that I could be well and truly waiting for the market to bomb to the downside before then starting to come back up again to where I entered. But and I will be okay with that as long as I get my hedge. If I don't get a hedge, that's going to be kind of painful. So I've got to wait and see what happens. But you know, just the way that things look, the way that this particular pattern looks, and the way that the trade war discussion and the agreement hasn't really given too much juice in the market, while there is no catalyst for any upside, I've got to be kind of a bit more cautious. And as I say, if the trade is able to come out the market, the best possible play may well be just to kind of just to take things off the table. Bringing us back to the RSI. We've got a low down here. We've got a kind of equal low here. Momentum has weakened to the downside, on this weekly chart. So it might be that we can start to pick up here. So I still may leave it on. And this is the thing about the hedge. If I decide to hedge, or if I decide that my philosophy is going to be to hedge rather than take the long trade off, then at least I can wait for a clear signal to the downside before having to be too concerned with the fact that the trade is on a higher level. And if that hedge doesn't kind of kick in, then I can see if I can get back up to this point one more time and make some money on the way up. Still make some money on the way up, but there's going to be a few things that have to be done here. There's going to be a few plays that have to be done. But looking at the charts right now, I think there's a chance that we can have one more run up. So I am going to look for that. I'm going to look to see if that's the case. What's interesting with this is that when we utilize this line here, where that left shoulder and right shoulder actually is, it does suggest that actually we've probably just about hit that the high of that shoulder, and it looks now much more likely that was the level that we were waiting on, rather than this 7,200. So the market looks a little bit bearish, doesn't it? It doesn't look like it's playing out particularly well.
Yeah, look, it does across the board. It's pretty much the flavour of the month as early as December is. It's not playing Santa Claus yet, and that's interesting.
Yes, it absolutely is, isn't it? Because the Santa rally is something that happens a high percentage of the time, but it doesn't happen every time. And maybe it's one of those years that we just don't get it. Let's have a look at the dollar yen. I see that's having a little bit of a rally right now. So that's a good thing. We had yesterday where the dollar yen did give us a bit of a rally. Let's just check this on with some detail. You're going to need to take these highs out, but certainly if this bar ends up closing above there, that's going to give us that morning star pattern, and that again is going to suggest that we could well break out of something else, which also is looking like a head and shoulders pattern. So there's quite a lot of these reversal patterns seem to be actually coming into play right now. It's just more the question of, do they play out?
And that's the thing. That is the thing. I'm of course embedded in the majors against the dollar mostly, and it's a tough road at the moment to find exactly what I'm looking for. And what I'm looking for, have you got more there, mate?
No, I was just looking at the euro because I know that this is something for you as well. But what is your take on the euro? See, I find this chart a very difficult chart to read, and when I compare, when I compare the brother of the euro or certainly family member of some description of the euro, the Swissy, then I think it's a clearer picture at least. With the Swissy, we do seem to have this lower high. We do seem to have this this potential for a shooting star, maybe just about could get away with calling it. Certainly a high test, but there would have been people that would have been triggered into this particular trade at this point, and so far it has rejected the downside. And actually, if we consider where that bar closed, actually it's maybe even found a little shelf to move higher.
Yeah.
So there might not be too much of an easy ride for us when I look at these charts. There's not too much of an easy ride. The pound is also always of interest at a pretty significant level. Could you trade the pound long with given everything that's going on? I'm not too sure.
It's a tough call, isn't it?
Yes, it will be. Yeah, well, let's have a look what you were looking at, mate, because
I'll have a look at those two in particular. But first I'm going to start with the Aussie. And the reason I'm going to start with the Aussie...
you might need to take the screen.
How's that?
Why can't I see your screen properly?
All I can see is feedback.
Yeah. There we go.
All good.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, I've been calling the Aussie long off that red line. And again, that's a brave move. As I said from the outset, the Aussies had a poor week from a data perspective. And you can see that very, very clearly. There's no two ways about that. It's actually gone through every single point of support that exists.
Jeez.
Smashed through the daily, smashed through the top of the range, smashed through the weekly, smashed through the monthly, although it's retesting that now. Look, I can see this going long. I can still see this going long. But if you look at that bar, gee whiz, again, it's a very, very tough call to make. Although, that said, if you have a look at the daily chart, really, we've come off the bottom. We've had a bullish engulfing bar. We've had a big hammer. We've had another big bullish engulfing bar. Didn't quite get one here, but we've got higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high.
Yeah.
We're still yet to find out if this is going to be a higher low, but there's no better place for it to form.
Oh, I completely agree.
Right,
you draw a trend line from the 11th of, or is it 13th of November, and then the next one on the 27th.
13th of November here.
Yeah.
Here.
That gives us that little area of potential support, doesn't it? And realistically, this is really in line with what I was talking about with the FTSE. The FTSE is also at a fairly critical area. It is at a fairly critical area, and it could really do with some juice here.
Yep. Look, what I'd like to see, just to give me some level of, I don't know, insurance, if you like, is this to break down to this line. So actually break that trend line and then find resistance, support rather here.
Yeah.
Then give me either a reversal bar, still a higher low, or an equal low if we're talking about this one.
Yeah.
And then I reckon there's some upside here. But if I actually listen to the commentary in Australia today, and on top of all that bad news that we've had all week, if I listen to the commentary today, they're calling an interest rate cut.
Oh, really?
In August. Yeah.
Really? In August?
I mean, this is a bank commentator, right? It's obviously he's no dill, and that's his forecast that we only have the next interest rate movement will be down.
Yeah.
And it will be in August of 2019. Now, where they get that number from, I have got absolutely no idea. Maybe I don't know. That's crystal ball stuff as far as I'm concerned.
Well, it is. I mean, what was his evidence to say that?
Only a headline, mate. I haven't gone into it. It's only a headline. But where there's smoke, there's fire. Yeah. And that will go on all the news feeds around the world, I would imagine. Some stuff that, hey, these dickheads in Australia are actually going to cut interest rates rather than go with the rest of the world. But then I've always said that I still think the Yanks have gone too hard, too fast, but that's neither here nor there. This is likely to create a sentiment, a market sentiment on the Aussie, and that's likely to be short if this actually does do the rounds of the commentary tables. But I'm still committed, if you like, to trade this long. Whilst ever and this is the level for me where it stops or it ceases to be a long. It's that level right there.
Yeah.
As soon as we get below that, if there's a close below there, I change my mind. But whilst ever we're above that level and probably looking for a bounce off this level, I am looking for a long. I'm looking for a big long, actually. I think this can go quite a way. So I'm now on alert from this point right now because we are at this level. We're at a confluence area. And if I get the right signals, then I'm going to have to enter, or I'm going to have to place an order long. This looks like the first of them. We've got a tweezer bottom sitting here. It's not really out of context either because it's at the bottom of a run.
So, just out of interest, why would you say that the run to the the upside is done at that lower one instead of the first red line?
Because I think this is the more significant level. If we have a look at it here, it's been both resistance and support. This level here hasn't really been resistance as far as I suppose it has through here, but that's just noise through this level. I like to see a clear resistance, a clear turn, a clear swing, if you like, and that's what I'm seeing out of this level. So that's why I think that level's stronger than this level here.
So
I'm prepared to stay bullish until we have a close below here.
Right.
Does that make sense?
It does. I mean, you know, when I look at that, it would suggest that there might be an intraday long, but I'd be concerned about that first red line. That if it came down to the second red line, that first red line wouldn't then become resistance.
Yeah, look, could well. I'll just play it as I see it, as I say.
Yeah.
And from this very point in time, is when I'm looking for longs, because we are at support now.
Yeah.
We'll also be support here, and we'll also be at support here.
Yeah, yeah.
But I'll be prepared to still go long if this breaks down, but not if this breaks down.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I mean, it's pretty clear to me what I need to do. It's just a matter of the timing, and it's quite possible that I'll have 3 cracks at this and get it wrong twice.
Yes,
it's completely possible.
Yes,
because timing is everything.
Yes, and it's one of those things, isn't it? That you know, the reason I took the long in the footsies is something very, very similar.
Yeah,
I've had a crack at it, but really, what you were talking about a few days ago about easing yourself in, you know, not kind of risking too much, is an okay thing to do. But
and that's exactly what I'll do here. I'll go small into this one.
Yeah.
If it works, then I'll scale in after we're through this level.
Yeah.
If we come off it, I'll scale back in, and I'll scale in again if we get to this level. So that's the way I'll deal with it.
Yeah.
And if we do get through here, then we've got a pretty good trade on our hands, I would have thought.
Yeah.
We shall see.
We shall see. Well, we got a couple of minutes before the UK market opens up, and I suspect that if the FTSE is to move higher, we might see the same with the Aussie. Are you getting close to looking for a trade in the Aussie?
I'm not looking at the smaller time frames, and I hate to trade the first candle of London, and I don't have a trade here on the smaller time frames. I am looking at the 4 hour though. So if in 2 hours time, I'm seeing exactly that, I will place an order long here.
Yeah.
Above these candles. I'll probably put my stop below this first level here somewhere. Just give it that much space and see how that goes. And as I say, if we get taken out, then I'll look for another entry above this one. And if we get taken out again, I'll look for another entry above this one. Again, you know, I'm not talking big stakes here. I'm just talking little stakes on this one, a little bit bigger on this one, and maybe a little bit bigger on this one until we get it right, or we're all wrong. If I'm totally wrong, then so be it. And as I say, it's had a very bad week, the Aussie, data-wise, and it's also now in the hands of commentators who are calling for interest rate cuts. My goodness,
yeah.
Yeah. And I want to go long. What's wrong with me, Yash?
Well, yeah, but as you say, I mean, that's kind of, it's very speculative, you know, saying an interest rate cut out in August does sound very, very speculative, doesn't it?
It does, and we'll see if that actually gets any traction anywhere, but it's certainly done the rounds today in Australia, that's for sure. Do you look like trading anything early?
No, well, I'm already in the trade, so I think if I wasn't in the trade already, I'd probably still look for the long here. I'll show you what I've got now. Yeah, I'd still be looking for a long at this particular area. I'd still be looking to see whether we could actually, you know, move up a little bit. Certainly not the short just yet. It's very bearish, but you know, as this market opens, the long looks a lot more attractive. And it's always tempting, to be honest, to get back in again. Let me just check this 15-minute chart. Yeah, and the 15 looks pretty good too. Actually, the 15 looks very good. So, you know, it's always tempting to kind of, you know, go long in again. and see whether this this can juice forward. The only thing with this, and the reason I'm not going long twice on this particular occasion, is that previously when I went long up here, I went long here, and the market came down, and I went long again. And as you know, I closed both of them out at this point to make profit on this one and have the other one at break even.
Yep.
But the reason I was still prepared to go long there is that the downtrend for me was in question and the uptrend was just about in existence. Yes, it closed below there, but it was very, very, it was a slight close. So so that's the reason I was happy to go long twice. With this one, it's a little bit different. I've kind of gone long here. I don't really want to go long here because the uptrend is well and truly in pressure, well and truly under pressure here. So I'll be kind of like scooping up to try and find the low, and I'm not really prepared to do that. I'd much prefer just to allow the picture to unfold, see if I can get back to near some sort of entry level, and then if I can get near the entry level, then I can see whether that is worth taking off and potentially switching positions, which is what I'd kind of like to do anyway. I'd really would like to go short on this, but it's oversold on the hourly. It's oversold on the 4 hourly. The daily's got a little bit of time to travel. The weekly's oversold and bounced and maybe sort of giving us some divergence, and the monthly is just tipping under that 50%. So it's going to be a vicious and violent move for us to break down from here to the downside, and this is really our area here. So we are right on top of a potentially fairly significant and strong area of support. So not enough for me to go long, as I say, but I would like to just keep what I've got and see what happens.
Okay, I'm finding a couple of interesting things here. I better check that out. I haven't really looked at the charts today at all. I've been just absolutely flat out. So let me show you a couple of things on the euro, which are interesting. And again, it's tough to have a bullish outlook on or bias, if you like, on the euro, but it's kind of sitting there and staring me in the face. So I'm going to have to place a small order here. And it's going to be above this bar here. It's a little bit on the risky side, but I think it's okay. So we're going to play along here above this candle, and we're going to put our stop where? It's a good question, isn't it? Probably under here. Might be a good plan. We're at the top of the hourly chart. Let me have a look at the 30. Okay. All right, let's go with the hourly. Quarter of a lot, that'll do. It's going to be pending order. It's going to be a buy stop. The entry level is going to be here above that bar at 113.51. $113.51. The stop, I'm going to put it relatively safe place in a 113.20 area. 113.20, giving us 21 pips of risk. We'll take profit when we hit this level here. So we'll be looking for a spike at that level, and we'll take profit there. I'll do that manually. So we'll just place that.
Yeah.
And I'll show you where the entry is. I don't know why
let's have a look at that.
I don't know why it doesn't show on my chart. Okay, so there's the entry. I'm going to look for profit around about there. And whack it into free trade if I can. So we'll see how that goes, mate. There's another way to do this, and it's not there. It's probably the 4-hour chart. Let me see where we are. Yeah, this bar here, a bit big, but I'm going to place another order on the 4-hour chart here. And it will be just above my take profit level. So I'll be safe in this trade if this one triggers.
Which one's that?
I'm trading this bar here on the 4-hour chart. Again, long. So we'll place that order as well.
Yeah.
4-hour chart, same amount on the table, that'll do. It's pending order, it's buy stop. And the entry level, we'll put it above that bar there, which is 113.61. So 10 pips above our 30-minute trade or our hourly trade, whatever it is, 113.61. And our stop is going to be underneath this bar here at 113.10. 113.10. And we'll take some profit on this one, probably around about this level here, where it meets the trend line, rather, something like that, in this confluence area. So that's the plan on this, to buy stop, and we will place the order. Okay, so entry is above here, above this candle, and the stop loss is below this candle. So there we go. Looking at the euro long, and I went through this yesterday in the show, and anyone who was in and having a look will probably recall that the reason I was long is twofold. We've broken below this level here, which is 113, significant level, but we couldn't hold it, and we got back into it. We even tried again and couldn't hold it, and came back into it with a big bullish bar here. Now, this news here, and I forget what on earth it was that drove the market back down, can't remember. But anyway, it failed to take out the low, whatever it was. Technically, it failed to take out the low. And since then, we've been in Brexit talk mode, where the market's doing absolutely nothing. And we've really still, if you ask me, from a technical level, we're still under the influence of the fact that we've come back inside this range here, and we've put in a big bullish engulfing bar. We haven't taken that back out, so we're still at a support level. Weekly pivots holding us up. Everything's holding us up. All the pivots are holding us up. But more than that, I think it's the Brexit talks that are holding us up. Sooner or later, this market's going to move. And I'm going to go with the technicals. I'm going to put Brexit completely out of my mind. And if this does move, in my opinion, it has to move to the upside. When I say has to, you know what I mean. There's no such thing. But where I was bearish last week, I wasn't entirely bearish. I was actually covering shorts here. I thought there was a possibility that we do go short. And if that was the possibility, and it did happen, then I wanted to be in that move. Look, I really haven't changed my mind on that, to be fair. But I simply don't have something that's telling me, in terms of a technical situation, that this is likely to happen. I'm still getting big bull bars. I'm still getting higher lows, and I'm still getting a big rejection bar there. Yes, I know we came off the resistance here. I can't remember what caused that, but really it didn't do too much. It just took back what the market gave in the first place. So I still think we're in a potential bull move here, and that's why I'm keen to go long at this point. Right. Whether I'll go too far is, of course, another question, because I don't really see. Maybe to here, I'll scale out fairly substantially at that level. Give it a chance to go to the top of the range. That range, of course, we've had it on the chart for quite some time, and it was in the first instance looking at Head and Shoulders, which just got too long in the tooth. But that said, if you have a look at that channel, it's absolutely still valid, because the market is still reacting off it. support to resistance to support, and bang, back to supporting. So it's still holding, and that's why I've still got it on my chart. And for that reason, I think there is some upside here. Of course, fundamentals can drive this down to bilio very, very quickly. There's no two ways about that. But whilst the technicals are there, I'm still willing to risk not a huge amount, but enough to get something for a schooner at the end of the week if it does come off.
Yeah. Well, this is what we're talking about, wasn't it? Whether the technicals are playing such a part. I mean, there's so much geopolitics going on right now. This Huawei or Weiwei, whichever way we pronounce it, that particular story is making the technicals pretty tricky actually to trade. I mean, the Chinese are not happy that it was actually Canada that arrested the CFO, but on the instruction of the US, and they're really not happy about it. So, I'm not surprised really to see the particular moves that we have seen, and it seems to be more about the concern that China may well kind of put any deal that's going on, and they might decide that now is off the table because of this particular story as well. So it's as I say, it's making trading very, very difficult. And I've got the FTSE looking now like it's going to give way to the downside one more time. So I may just if I show you this chart here, I may let's make sure my screen's up. Is that what I think? Yeah, with this, can you see my screen?
Yes, I can, mate.
Yeah, so I might just see if it will fall down to this point, and then see if there's any long in the market there to play to back to the upside, which will mean maybe not needing quite as much back to the upside, but there is a fairly significant level down there. Whether it's a strong level of support, we just don't know. But the story is not helping, and I suspect it probably is down to that, and the and the story obviously about Brexit. The Theresa May was in Parliament yesterday, and she doesn't seem to have a great deal of support. I thought she actually performed pretty well, and it may well have been enough to convince somebody as dozy as me to kind of decide that her deal is probably our only option. But the rest of the Parliament aren't buying into it, so that also could cause some problems in the market today.
It really, we do have three protagonists in the market at the moment. There's not just the bulls and the bears. There's Brexit as well. That's absolutely underlining things at the moment, and it is
and the US and China tensions, right? I mean, there's a few aspects out there which look to be driving the market. But yeah, I mean, Brexit recession is a potential headline as well.
Well, we're right on it, aren't we? I mean, she's still in talks with Parliament, right? And that's going on today and tomorrow as well, isn't it?
Yeah, and then the vote next Tuesday.
Yeah, so I've no doubt there are little cracks in the wall that are leaking whatever's said and what the sentiment in the room is and all the rest of it. And whilst that's happening, we're going to get market moves. There's no two ways about that.
Yeah,
depends on the flavour,
Yeah, absolutely. Well,
but, I'm prepared to trade the technicals at low risk and until it pans out. At some stage, there's going to be a big move, and if we're on the right side of it, great. If we're on the wrong side of it, then we haven't risked too much. So
that's the key, isn't it? Is that not putting too much in, but there's always an opportunity. And as I say, I am looking for the short in the market, and I'd like to get a short in the right area. I will consider one more long around about the 68.20 level as the market eases down, potentially into that particular area. But after that point, I'd like to look for a long, or let the market go and then see if I can fade it down when it comes back. But getting in short of this particular juncture I don't think would be the wisest prospect, because I'll show you this chart one more time. The daily is the daily chart here is at a fairly significant level, and not quite oversold just yet, but we did see it on the weekly, looking like it's also a fairly significant level. You know, can this neckline hold out? Is the key question. I don't know about there.
Yeah, there's a waterfall if it doesn't, eh?
Oh yeah, I mean it would be look out down below if this doesn't manage to kind of get back up again, I think. And then just have to make some choices, you know, the best way to play it. But you know, I really like what you're saying about going in light on the technicals. I really like that particular strategy. I think that's a good idea because it just gives you so much room to think rather than having to kind of come out and go in and come out and go in. You can just leave trades run that little bit longer and see if they establish themselves. And if they don't, then you make a different play. But at least you know, you allow the picture to develop. And it's the same with the FTSE 100, that the technical pictures, it's on a level of support, but the buying opportunity is a little bit unclear right now.
Yeah. Also, the attitude I'm taking in is, and you'll probably notice that that I put my stops in a bit wider position than I normally would on both those trades.
Yeah.
So I think that's probably a wise thing as well.
Yeah,
and,
I agree.
and get something off the table quickly. Also, you know, I think those three components are probably going to keep your account relatively safe, I would have thought. But I'm going to have to hop off very shortly.
No problem.
I wanted to just do one thing again with the pound, and if I show my screen, which I'll try and do. Oh. Okay, hopefully you can see. Look, it's very similar to the euro. I guess that's not surprising in many ways, but it's also a little bit different. And the difference is that we have continued to break what I consider to be the previous range, and we're still below that level rather than the euro, which has crawled back into that level.
Yeah.
I just think it's a weaker conveyance than the euro. I guess there's a channel here we can put in as well.
That was pretty good.
Yeah. So it's really, really tough to trade this cross at the moment. You know, I want to think that it's going to the top here, but gee whiz, it's really, really tough to do that. The daily pivot just keeps edging its way down and down and down. As I say, eventually something's going to give here.
Yeah.
But I just can't find a way in here at all. It's really, really tough. If I look at this bar here, which is a big bullish engulfing bar, of course, and then I look at this nice retracement and giving me a nice little reversal bar here, you know, 9 times out of 10, I'm going to go, bang, there's a long right there.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, the daily pivot's dead in the way, as is the bottom of the range. So that makes it doubly tough to do because that's just going against my grain 100%. But if that wasn't there, again, I'd simply have to put something into this to give it a chance to go to this level, because technically that really is what should happen.
Yeah.
That really is what should happen next. This should rally. But
and to the weekly pivot?
And to the weekly pivot, if not the top of the channel. Yeah. Which is certainly you'll be scaling out here. Look, I think if this were to close above the daily pivot, and we've got, what, 100 minutes to go, I think it's probably worth a go. I think it probably is.
Yeah.
You know, it's a reversal situation. It's a higher low. You've even got an inverted head and shoulders here on probably another chart as well. So it's tough because of the fundamentals. You've got it locked into your mind that there's only one way this thing can go.
Yeah.
And that's always a very dangerous thing to have in trading, because there's not only one way it can go. It can definitely go the other way. And you've got to block that out. You know, you've got to block out, no, there's only one way this can go, and open yourself to the possibility that before it does go, it can go the other way and find resistance, because it's got to sell off something, you know, and if it's not a fundamental thing in the first place, it'll go to resistance and then it will sell.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's not, it seems weird and it seems very hard to do, but it's not the worst thing you can be looking at right now.
Oh, I completely agree, and you know, there's every possibility that that the sell-off is unlikely to kind of actually really start until we get that vote and get the result of that vote as well. That's another aspect.
Yeah, that's right. And you know, there might be little things that leak out of that room in the meantime that suggest that you know, it's not all doom and gloom.
Yeah.
And the market will react off those things.
Yeah, so absolutely.
Don't think it can't go long for a short time, because it certainly can.
Well, it has been, isn't it, as well? I mean, it has even with all the fundamentals and the news, the pound has been having some pretty good rallies. And when you think,
and look again, Ash, look again where it goes to.
Yeah, yeah.
The top channel,
yeah.
last week's weekly pivot. This one to the weekly pivot sells off. When you look at it, it's not that difficult. You just got to find a way in.
And that's
the hard part.
There's quite a lot of quite a few bullish bars there as well, right? I mean, there's probably enough there to suggest that there are buyers down there.
Yep, certainly.
It's just that they need something to kind of grasp onto it. And as I say, maybe the vote on Tuesday could be significant. Maybe it may end up winning and it goes up, or maybe she ends up losing and it goes up because the assumption is that there won't be any Brexit. There's a lot to kind of there's a lot to think about here.
Yeah, well, what we're saying is it's possible, and you know, you can't rule it out. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Two orders, one on the 30-minute chart. One on the hourly charts. Trading, if you've just joined us, trading this bar here. We've got an entry at the top of it. We've got a stop below this bar here. I believe that's where our stop is. And on the 4-hour chart, we've got, and we'll scale out before this 4-hour is triggered, by the way. We've got an entry above this bar here and a stop below this bar here on the 4-hour chart. So it's euro long in both of those. I'm going to leave you, mate.
All right, buddy. Yeah, you go and sort your bamboo out and have yourself a good weekend as well. I won't see you before that, but I will be back on. I don't land until 5:30, but I'm not planning to leave London until I'm not planning to leave London to get the train until after 9:30. So all I need to do is find a cafe, and I will be in the show with you on Monday.
All right, mate. If not, I'll keep it rolling. No drama.
Yeah,
Have a
yeah.
good weekend.
Yes, mate. You too. You too. Good luck with the events as well over the weekend, and yeah, we'll catch up next week.
Cheers, mate. I'll have to leave this rolling, I think, and because I don't know that you can crash out of it, so I'll just keep it running in the background. Yeah,
I think you should be. Yeah. Okay. All right. Yeah. Should be okay. But yeah, that's fine. And then just close it down in about 40 minutes or so.
Yeah, we'll do. Right, mate. Cheers.
All right, buddy. See you soon. Okay, so we will be. Let's take the screen back here then, and just have a look at what we got. So we are waiting on this this FTSE 100 to give us some positivity here. We're just getting very, very near these lows. Let's just double check this one more time. So on the daily chart, I'm just going to extrapolate an area here. Just make sure I've got the low in actual fact. So let's do a little measurement, and I probably will. I probably will go long again here. Where's my? Here we go. Let's have a look. See where the low of that bar is. 68.22. So we're about 10 pips away from that that particular area. But let's mark it off properly on the chart. So we've got to get rid of quite a lot. Not quite. There we go. So we're looking at 68.22. That's 17. Yeah, this point here. That's the point that I'm getting interested in. As I say, I mean, it's oversold. I probably want to see some signs and signals down here that we are, you know, that we have a chance to strengthen. Maybe even a break of this high. I'm just going to check what that would mean. So that's going to be 70. A break of the high, the break of the closing high there is going to be around the 70 area. So it's 50 pips from the absolute low. Just getting that bounce coming into play. We may even get a new level. If we get a new level, then we can maybe enter in just a little bit better off. But I think looking for a long here is okay. And as you know, Jeff and I have been talking about, you've got to go in light. You've got to go in pretty weak, just to make sure that you don't get kind of caught up in a trade and a direction that you don't want to be in. But I've gone in light enough in the area that I have, which is actually quite away from, you know, my entry's quite away from this current price here. But I've gone away in light enough to have loads of room to kind of consider what I'm going to do. Let's just check that. Dollar CAD. I mean, I'm not so interested in the moving average bounce, but actually, let's bring that up. That may well be a wave rider, which I don't have on these. We'll check that in a minute. I'm not sure. I haven't got the wave rider templates on this one, but there is apparently a moving average bounce. The issue really with dollar CAD here is that that it's kind of gone a bit far. Let's bring this up on the daily. We'll have a quick check around the grounds as well, just as I let that FTSE 100 run and just see if it comes down to that low for a potential trade, or whether we actually break the high at 69.70. Not a bad place for me to re-enter. If I get 69.70 and it becomes a high low, happy to look at an entry on that one. But it looks like we're going to have to give this a little bit of time just to wait and just go around the grounds and just check some of these barometers. And the Nikkei's recovery is just starting to freeze a little bit. You can see the divergence here. You can see the oversold conditions here, but it was oversold here and it still came further down, went back up again, and it's oversold here and it still came further down. So that's no good. So the Nikkei is not looking good. China, geez, that's not doing well at all. What else? I'm just going to check the DAX futures, looking pretty weak. Dow Jones Industrial is looking a little bit weak as well. So I'm certainly interested in the FTSE here. Very, very close to a potential bounce level here. So I just want to see whether it's going to bounce and then, you know, potentially take another trade to the upside. That will give me a fairly nice, if it can bounce, that'll give me a fairly nice average of where the trade could be entered. But we need to see something which suggests some sort of hold. So probably won't be trading this for at least an hour and a half, unless the particular bar that we are currently on gives us enough of a bounce line. There's obviously nothing going to be on any of these short-term timeframes, which is giving us any upside. The 15-minute is moving to the downside. The 5 minutes moving to the downside. Need to see the 69.70 taken out, even on the 5-minute chart. It'll probably take a little while because it's so far away in a very, very strong bear market here. So we might get a new 5-minute area that we can trade. But the key really right now is just to sit out and wait and see what happens. So nothing really we can do right now. I think I'm just giving away Jeff is now. I'm gonna just come online if I. Oh, I'm not going to be able to do it on that one actually. That's the euro looking a little bit weaker as well. Pound yen was something that I know Lloyd was in, and that was doing really, really well. And looks like we might take another move down. So no good is really coming of anything right now this morning. So we'll just have to wait and see what happens. Now, I might see if you guys want to post questions. I might see if I can get some. Oh, okay. I can't type in there for some reason. Talking about a potential Brexit recession. Let's see if I can find if you guys are asking me anything. Most of this stuff you just have to wait for. You know, there's not a great deal. Oh, I'm not sure if I can do that anyway, so let's not worry about that. There's not a great deal that we can do. We've just got to wait and see if we can get a slightly clearer picture here. There is a small bounce that we can't currently play, so we'll see if that can turn into something more significant and give us a potential entry. The problem really for me is I just don't know what the catalyst is going to be. You know, we need some really good news to come out to help us along. But we may have to. I might be able to. I'm just going to see if I can get on the other screen. Well, these. Okay, so it looks like the dollar CAD is something that Paul is suggesting that we could potentially trade. I don't know whether. I'm not sure whether we can do this or not. Let's have a look. No, that's not too bad. The only reason I'm going to switch to this is that we may have. You know what? I don't think. No. I don't have the templates as yet that I need. So Japan Post chief says that rates won't rise in the next 2 years. And maybe that helped some of these markets push against the yen initially. And we're just going to check the dollar yen again, and then we'll check this dollar CAD. I think the issue with the dollar CAD is the entry. It's pretty high, right? It's overbought. So the RSI says overbought. RSI says overbought. Not quite there. Looks like there's a little bit of room. He's through this level as well. Euro Aussie. Yeah, you see, this one I think is a much more interesting trade, and I can't remember who I was talking about with this, but this is a much more interesting trade, and not surprising at all that we're starting to see this one bounce. I'm not sure I've got these pivots even. Let me see. No, I don't have that. The dollar yen. Paul is beavering away in the background, finding lots of different trades. Actually, dollar CAD Swissy would be tricky. Looks like, again, it might be at an important level. FTSE's coming down again, so I just want to check this because I want to see if I can get a trade on this FTSE. But I need to see just something a little bit clearer in the way of a potential entry. Entering on this 5-minute chart is just a little bit too low, so it could be quite tricky. Just a little bit too low a time frame for us. So we're going to need to see if that'll establish. I think from here on in, I should just tell you the plan. I don't think there's really a lot I can tell you. The plan is going to be to wait and see what happens with the FTSE. Enter down here if we see a really clear sign of signal, and then look to go short at possibly the gap or a little bit higher. I'm not sure I've got the dollar yen here. It's come a long way, kind of fast as well, hasn't it? I quite like the I like the bullish price action though so far on this one. We can get some sort of morning star. That's going to help the dollar yen, and it's also going to help stocks. So just one final recap, and I'll probably push off because there's not really a lot I can do here. I've got to wait. But one final recap, I'd like to see an hourly hold here. So I'd like to see this one come back up to this area. If we get that hourly hold, I'll wait for a higher low, which is going to be around about the 69.70 level. Sorry, 68.70 level. If I get that 68.70 level, breaking a back test, then I will go long. I'm not that keen on a short in this area. I think it's a bit too oversold, but long if it breaks some back tests here, and then we'll just see what how we're going to manage the rest of the trade. We'll see what goes on. All right, guys, back Monday, and we'll see how this goes on. So I'm looking at long FTSE around about the 68, probably 68.33, 35 maybe, and if I can go long at this particular level, which would be, I wonder if it even be there, 60, around about the 6,900 level. So they're the two options that we've got. We're looking at shorts ultimately. So let's play it to around about 7,000 and look see if there's a short in the market. And that's something that we want to try and hold on to. All right, I will leave you to it, guys. Enjoy your weekend, and I will see you next Monday.